To jump on quickly today to do a little beginner's yoga guide or Q&A. This is probably the thing I get asked about the most from people who are thinking about starting yoga, or who have started but aren't really sure where to go next, or have an interest in it but they think it's not right for them. So I wanted to kind of dispel some myths and maybe ask some questions if you are thinking about getting started with yoga. So I think the first thing to say is that it can be super overwhelming when you're thinking about starting yoga. I mean, all you kind of see is people on Instagram doing crazy poses, or you see yoga companies kind of promoting yoga in a certain kind of way, looking a certain kind of way. And I think the most important thing I want to get across in this video is that yoga is for everybody. And I know that sounds like just some kind of cliche that I'm trying to like tell you, but it really is. Its origins are in India. It is for every color, size, religion, it doesn't matter. It is for every single body, and that's what's so special about it, and that's what makes it so accessible. So I think the first thing is to kind of let go of any ideas that you have about yoga or yoga classes or the practice in general. I think probably the number one thing that people say to me is, I'm not flexible, so I can't do yoga. Which I get, because you can probably just see loads of people doing the splits or doing crazy back bends and think, well, that's not me, so how am I ever going to go into a class and feel comfortable? But it's kind of like saying I'm too unfit to go to the gym, or I'm too dirty to have a shower. It's something that happens once you start doing yoga. You will get more flexible. It's not the reason to do yoga, but it's definitely a kind of byproduct. It's something that you will notice. And you've got to remember that people come to yoga for different reasons. So, you know, there might be people who are coming for the more spiritual side, people coming for the mental health aspect, or, you know, just wanting a little bit of calm or escape from life. There are people who do want the more physical side, whether that be strengthening or flexibility, mobility, anything like that. So it really isn't you have to be a certain way before you practice. So really keep that in mind, and remember, everyone started somewhere. It's like anything. There will not be one person who could walk into a yoga class and do absolutely everything. Having said that, a lot of the people that you do see on Instagram, like the big influencers or teachers, are actually more often than not ex-gymnasts or dancers, so they are naturally flexible. That's why they're doing all these amazing poses, and nothing against that. I think it's beautiful and great, but it's just something to bear in mind, so it's not this constant comparison, because actually it really does depend on what you've been doing since you were younger. So yeah, dispel any of that, let go of any thoughts about what you think yoga should be, and just go into it knowing that it is whatever you make it. It is however your body wants to look, respond, and act during the practice. That is yoga, and that's absolutely fine. So please don't worry about what you think that it should be, because there is no should. There's a lot of people demonstrating what it could be, but for some people it will never get to that, and that's fine too. You know, the aim isn't to be, you know, putting your feet over your head, or, you know, doing crazy arm balance and stuff. Cool if you can, and if you want to, great, but it's not the aim. So nip that in the bud right there. So where to start generally? I think my biggest advice is to probably look on the internet, really find online resources that are available to you, because there are loads. I mean, obviously you're here on my YouTube channel, and thank you very much. So I have a whole load of classes, and I'm more than open to ideas. So if you want more beginners classes, then please let me know. But there are also loads of other teachers on here, ones that have inspired me over the years. So I was following different students and people who are kind of at the same point of their journey as me, but also people who have progressed a lot, so I could hear about their story and how it was for them. I think yoga is very different to a lot of normal sports, or even just going to the gym. And it's kind of what I like about it, because when you go to the gym, you'll probably be looking to up your weights after a certain amount of time, or you'll be looking to progress in a certain way. With yoga, you don't really do that. You just kind of do your practice. You just do your practice, and then step away and kind of forget about it. Like, that was your time. You're not really looking for anything. You're not really, you know, trying to compete against anyone else. You're not trying to strive for a certain level. You're just doing what works for you, being in the moment while it happens, and then leaving it there. And then you come back the next day and do the same thing, or the next few days, or next week, however often you practice. And I think that's the nice thing about it, because one day you can be doing a pose and thinking that's the fullest expression of the pose, and look how much I progressed. And then, you know, maybe a few weeks or a month down the line, you'll do it again and it will feel entirely different. And that's what's really great, because you discover your body in a completely different way than you ever have. And you're more in tune with your body than any other sport, in my opinion, or exercise could give you. And that's what I think is so nice about it. You kind of go through the practice just doing it because it feels great, and you're becoming more at one with yourself. And then as time goes on, you really see the differences physically, emotionally, mentally. It makes such a difference. As well as the internet, I think one of the things I did was I actually went around loads of different charity shops or thrift stores and would find all the yoga books and DVDs. Because I think another kind of thing that can be a bit of an issue at the beginning is the cost of everything. It seems like you have to buy all of this stuff and you know, invest in it fully. And if you've not tried it and you're not sure if it's even for you, then it's just not the route to go down. When it comes to resources, look in charity shops, you know, even ask other teachers, see if they can lend you books or lend you DVDs, or, I mean, DVDs is quite old-fashioned, even though it was 5 years ago that I started, so I think it was still old-fashioned at the time, but it was something I like to do. So, I mean, that is an option, but there's so much online, there's so much on YouTube. I think YouTube is just like the biggest thing for yoga right now, especially, you know, during this pandemic, practicing at home, especially when you start, because I think there's this real fear, and understandably so, about going into big group classes when you don't have a clue what you're doing. So starting at home is a really nice way to ease yourself into it and get used to some of the poses before you go to a class. Having said that, as a beginner, I really recommend you do go to a class, and you can find specifically beginners classes, which are obviously a little bit stripped back so that you get to go through the fundamental poses without worrying about, you know, everyone else knowing what they're doing. You could even do a beginner's course. Sometimes studios offer like 6-week courses just so that you're all progressing at the same pace, which is quite a good idea. I actually threw myself into the deep end, because if you watch my other video, you'll know that I kind of started yoga on a Groupon deal. And so I just went to whatever class, you know, I had the time to go to. And I have to say it was intimidating. I walked in, and not only was the teacher speaking the Sanskrit names, but it was kind of a flowing class, so it went through and everyone knew what they're doing, it seemed. And I was just there like trying to copy the girl next to me. And I remember the teacher coming over to me and saying, "Oh no, don't worry, just go back into a down dog." And I was like, "What the hell is a down dog?" And I just looked at her like she was an alien, and she looked at me like I was an alien, because like, why aren't I doing the most basic pose? And I was like, "Oh, it's actually my first time." And then she was like, "Oh my God," and like then helped me. And so if you're going to a class, please tell the teacher that you're a beginner. There's no shame in that. In fact, as teachers, we like it so that we can help you more. It's not that they're going to make it glaringly obvious. They're not going to name you to the group, but they might give you a little bit more adjustments. They may make their instructions a little bit clearer. They might give more options. So for example, if there's advanced people in the class, they'll say, you know, if you're beginning, do this version. If you're more advanced, you can go into this. And then you kind of know which option is for you, which is always really helpful. And for you as a student, it will put you more at ease as well, so you're not just expected to know everything, especially if they're speaking Sanskrit, because the first time I went in there, I was just like, what? Like, how am I supposed to follow along when you're not even speaking English? And it was really weird, and I don't know if I'd have gone back, quite honestly, but I did, because I was on a Groupon deal, and I was so glad I did. So when it comes to studios and cost and things like that, most studios will do a beginner's deal. So they'll kind of either do like your first month for a really reduced rate, or your first certain amount of classes. And most studios will do this. So I would actually recommend trying out loads of different studios and doing like a month here, a month here, a month here. Not to kind of like cheat the system, although why not? But also because it's really important that you find a teacher that you resonate with. And I think I've had so many, you know, stories of people who have gone to class and they're just like, oh, I really didn't like the teacher, or I didn't like the way she taught, I didn't like her themes, I didn't like her approach, I didn't like her voice, some of them. And it really does make a difference. If you're doing an hour class, and yoga is one of those really like trusting practices where you kind of put your soul, you let the teacher take control basically, and you're just handing over to them to tell you what to do and to, yeah, be your guide throughout the hour. So if you don't feel entirely comfortable with how they're teaching, or you don't feel at ease, then it's not going to be a nice experience, and you won't be able to let go and breathe into your own body and really embrace the practice. But yeah, I think it's important to try out different teachers, see who you like, and also try out different styles. So not, you know, if you're first starting yoga, I don't think many people actually realize that there are so many different styles of yoga. And it's something that I certainly didn't realize when I started, and I looked at the timetable and I was like, what does this mean? And I remember going in and being like, I have no clue what any of these names are. There was Hatha, Vinyasa, Ashtanga. You'll know them if you have been doing yoga for a while. But if you haven't, try them out. I mean, there are certain styles which I wouldn't necessarily recommend for an absolute beginner, unless they say beginner or level 1, which some classes will. But for a beginner, I would recommend a hatha flow, potentially a vinyasa, but just know it is a little bit quicker. So I'd probably do a few more classes before you do that, maybe do a beginner's vinyasa. But basically hatha is like the primary style. So every other style of yoga kind of branches off of hatha yoga. They'll be using the hatha poses, but in different ways or in a different sequence. So hatha is a great way to start, and it just means that you have more time to, yeah, get to know the poses and really know what you're doing before you advance to, say, Ashtanga, which is a certain sequence of poses which you do every time, which could also be good for some people. I personally just wouldn't recommend it for your first few classes because I think it could be quite overwhelming. So equipment and things that you need. So I mentioned before, you know, there's this kind of idea that you need, you know, a certain yoga mat, you need all these props, blocks, blankets, bolsters, eye pillows, the new yoga gear, like the coolest gear to turn up to your studio. It's just not the case. However, I do know that it is confusing, like what do I need when I start? So first of all, you probably need a mat. Some studios will provide it, but it's just nice to have your own. Again, particularly since we're going through a pandemic, it's probably just nicer to have your own at this point and going forward. And for that, you don't need to pay loads. I mean, if you get down the line and realize you love it, I would recommend investing in a little bit more of an expensive yoga mat, for a few reasons. One, because it's just better quality and it will really improve the way that you practice. But two, the cheaper mats tend to wear out quite quickly, or just bits will fly off them. My first yoga mat, I think it was about £7, so I think that's about $10. And it was just a cheapy one that I got from TK Maxx, and I had no idea about yoga mats, so I was like, okay, I'll just get this one and I'm going to go to my class and fine. And it was fine, and I think I used it for probably 6 months, so you know, it's not like they're disposable. You don't use it once and then it's unusable. You can use them for a while, so don't worry too much about that. In terms of equipment, I would say try without first. And then if you feel that you really need something, then you can invest in it. I think most good teachers will, I mean, there is a place for props and I totally am an advocate for using them. But as a beginner, as someone who's just starting and wants to just test the water a little bit, I think most teachers will be able to guide you through a practice without needing any props. No matter how inflexible you are, no matter how much help you need with your mobility, for the first initial just easing yourself into classes, I don't think you need them. I think you can just get used to the poses and see potentially what your body would need in the future if you wanted to go down a more serious route with your yoga practice. When it comes to yoga clothes, this is another question I get quite a lot. kind of two answers. One is it really doesn't matter. As long as you're comfortable, wear loose-fitting clothing. You can practice in anything. That is, you know, that's number one. Practice in whatever feels right for you. A lot of people practice in pajamas at home, or just like loose-fitting things, jogging bottoms, like whatever. You may find it easier when you go to a class to have more form-fitting clothes. And the reason I'm saying that is because it's easier for the teacher to see your alignment, to see your form exactly, and then offer you adjustments and kind of tips. So that's probably why when you go to classes, you'll see a lot of people in leggings and kind of tighter tops. The top doesn't really matter that much, but in terms of like your alignment with your hips and your shoulders, it's just a little bit easier to see than if you had you know, kind of harem pants and like a baggy top. Another thing to note, and I'm telling you because I've been caught out on this one, is when you're wearing like baggy t-shirts or just anything loose fitting, we do a lot of kind of upside downy shapes in yoga. So if you're doing a down dog, for example, which is kind of an upside down V shape, you might find that your top kind of goes over your head. Not most ideal situation. I mean, you can tie it or you can tuck it in. There are ways, but I think it might just be a bit more comfortable for you to have a more form-fitting top. But again, it's personal preference. It doesn't matter, just wear whatever's comfortable for you. There is no rule. Obviously, I'd avoid wearing like jeans or something. I have had that happen to one of my classes before. Yeah, that's probably the one thing I'd say. Just make sure that you're comfortable and you can really move around and everything. Give it a little test. Give it one of these. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, just make sure that you aren't, you know, twisting and then restricted by your clothing. Okay, I'm trying to think of a few more questions that I've been asked. Do you have to chant in all classes? No, but don't be surprised if for some classes, and this is what I mean about getting to know your teachers, because some classes people they'll start with chanting 3 alms, or they'll start with a little mantra, which is just like some words that you kind of sing or chant at the beginning or end of your class. Normally they'll explain what these things mean, but sometimes you'll go and it's just what they do at the start of their class, and you'll get to know that as you get to know the teacher. There'll be teachers who don't and teachers who do. So no, but don't be surprised. I'm just going to consult my question list. So another one is people worry that when they go, they'll forget the names of the poses and not be able to keep up. And it just happens, like, it's fine. It really doesn't matter. And the thing is, what you'll soon come to realize in yoga is no one is looking at you. Literally no one is looking at you. Everyone is so focused on themselves. And it's actually something that I realized as a teacher, because I was so worried about being self-conscious when I first started teaching. I'm not a public speaker at all. I really thought that I'm going to get up and freeze. But as I started teaching, I realized that everyone's kind of like listening to me as their soundtrack, but absolutely not focused on me. They might peek up once just to see what I'm doing, make sure that they're in the right position. But generally, no one cares in the nicest possible way. Everyone's there for themselves. And the people who are doing yoga aren't the kind of people who are judgy, competitive. Of course, you'll get the odd few, but just generally, it's not an environment where you feel that you're unsafe or unwelcome or in competition with others. It really is a welcoming and safe space, and you'll find that the majority of the people that you meet through yoga are just really lovely and just really kind and warm-hearted people. So I understand how that's a concern, but you'll soon find it isn't the case. You really will, unless you're very, very unlucky, which I highly doubt. Let me dispel that for you now. You will be welcome wherever you decide to go. So my final piece of advice, because I think this is way longer than I was anticipating anyway, but my final piece of advice is just to start yoga. It's helpful to have tips and advice and kind of know the general direction of where to go to get started. But don't let yourself get caught up in those details. You know, don't sit and fret about what you're wearing, or is this mat acceptable? Will I be judged for this? You know, is this the right studio for me? Should I be going to this teacher? Should I commit to, you know, my introductory week? Why not just see? And if it's a money issue, go onto YouTube. If it's a nerves issue, maybe grab a friend to go with you, or again, just start online, or you can find teachers to do one-to-one classes. If it's any other issue, message me. I will be more than happy to help you on your journey, answer any questions, put you at ease if I can. I honestly think that everyone on this planet could benefit from yoga. I really think it's one of those things that we should all be doing. I say to people all the time, it's one of those things that I started and then was like, why haven't I been doing this for all my life, and why isn't everyone else? So I think once you start, and once you get over the whole weirdness of starting, because it is weird when you start, it is quite unusual and not like any other kind of forms of practice or exercise. But once you get over that and you start to, you know, really sink into it, you'll feel like you're part of something really special and that you've discovered something that you kind of know is going to change your life. And something like that, I think, is really worth holding on to and worth sharing and worth telling everyone, just do it, just go for it. So yeah, overall, I hope this was helpful. But if you take anything away, it's forget everything and just do it, just do it. Trust me, just do it. Okay, I'm gonna leave it here, but I will see you very soon. And feel free to connect with me on anything. If you're not subscribed already, by the way, I hate to be this person, but please do. It helps me quite a lot. And if you want to share any of this, also please do. Okay, I'm going to stop preaching, but bye.